Good morning. It's October 21st, and as you can tell by the trees, it's getting to be the end of the season in Pennsylvania. We will soon be on the road. And as we head down the road, we have a new way to keep power to the rig. We've installed 1,320 watts of solar. There's two panels there facing you. I don't know if you can see them. They're facing east. The sun has just came up this morning. It's not even 9 a.m. yet. And then I got two panels, I think you can see. Okay. And you can see those two panels facing south are also picking up a little sun. Little Halloween decoration there. We got the flag down halfway for Colin Powell, who passed away this week. So a friend of mine, Russ, helped me put the solar on the roof. Unexpectedly, a great assistant. I don't think I could have actually done it without him, so I really appreciate his help. Thanks, Russ. I know you're watching. Got them all mounted. I'm using angle brackets to keep them tilted. I'll have to take the angle brackets off when we travel. So all the wiring went to a box on the roof. I'll insert a picture showing you the connections. Ran through a channel that Grand Design puts in the RV, and I installed the charge controllers here. Now why here? Because this is all the room I have for storage here anyway. As you can see, I got a little roll-up blanket here. That's about all the room I have. I might be able to put a table up against this side over here as long as it's not metal. But that's two charge controllers, 100 watt, 50 amp charge controllers. So I'm using number 6 wire from the roof to the charge controller through some circuit breakers. I'm coming out of the charge controllers with some more circuit breakers, and then I went through the wall into the forward bay to the batteries. Now we'll go there and I'll show you that. Okay. That one big cable there. That one big cable there with the wire loom on it is running over here, and I split the negative and the positive. The negative is going to this distribution block, which is tied into my shunt. My shunt is right there. This side only is the only side that goes to the batteries. Okay. The positive individual lines are going to this battery and this battery. So I'm feeding these two batteries, but I'm only drawing off of this battery. That's where my positive is coming for my inverter. It's going through an on and off switch, through a 400 amp T fuse into the inverter. That is the new multi-plus 12 volt, 3,000 watt, 120 times 2, because it has two outputs, inverter. Beautiful piece of equipment that Victron's come in. So that's all the pieces outside for my solar. Now let me take you inside. All right, before I go, I thought maybe I better tell you a little bit about the batteries I'm using. These are 196 amp hours each for 594 amp hours. If you know anything about batteries, being AGM, I can only use half the amp hours in there. Okay, because you're not supposed to go below 50. Now, if I went below 50 with these batteries, there'll be less harm than if I did it with flooded batteries, but more harm, or even less harm if I had done it with lithium. So these 3 batteries will eventually be replaced with 6 lithium batteries. They'll fit in there nicely. So the whole solar system is tied into this touchscreen. As you can see, we are currently on the inverter. It says inverting. The AC load is 90 watts. The DC load is 60 watts. We're making 484 watts of power, and 326 watts are going to the batteries to get them recharged. Now, what makes this all work? The brains. It's like a computer. That's just the screen or the monitor. The brains are down here. Oh, I guess I might need some light there so you can see it. That's the brain box. I got both charge controllers, the shunt, and the inverter all connected to this box to give you that display that you see on the other side. So when it comes to installing a solar system, you really need to know how much power you're going to use. In my calculations, I did not include the refrigerator. Why? I would probably need almost 600 more watts of solar and probably another battery. And as you can see in my forward bay, I don't have room for any more batteries. 600 amp hours was the most. So what are we running? Well, obviously we have we have a refrigerator here in the garage that keeps our drinks cold. We have a TV, we have a satellite system. All our 12 volt stuff that you would normally have if you didn't have AC power, lights, radio, fans, anything that runs off of 12 volt. So having built 2 previous solar systems, I kind of knew how high I wanted to go. The first one I built was 200 amp hours and 300 amp hours in flooded batteries and 2 suitcases, 400 watts of solar. Okay, that was enough, but just for the basics, making a cup of coffee in the morning and then hope that the sun would shine to recharge everything. It was kind of like right on the borderline. The second system I built was 800 watts on the roof. I only started with the 620 at first. When I got to quartzite, I realized I didn't have any of them leading up into the sun, so I had to buy 2 more panels, 180 watts, to get that power, to get more power in the winter in Arizona. At that time, I only had 2 AGM batteries for a total of 400, just under 400, 396 amp hours. That one was better. Again, the fridge was not calculated into that. But I was still finding myself to need, because we only had 180 watts pointing to the sun, I still found the need to start the generator 1 to 3 hours a night to top off the batteries for the night. Why is it important to have charged batteries? Even though we're in quartzite, it does get a little cool at night. The furnace will run, and the furnace is one of your biggest consumers during the night. Unless you like freezing, we don't. Although we keep our thermostat set down to about 64, 65 when we're sleeping. We just throw on an extra blanket, and we got 2 little puppies. They keep us warm too. So when I built this system, I knew that 396 amp hours was a little bit more than I had before, but if I could bump that up just a little bit higher, I think I could find where we needed to be. We're now up to 594 amp hours, and we're 1,320 watts of solar. So guess what? We're where we need to be. I'm very happy with it. It could support this rig. How do I know? Even though we're at our campsite, we've been living off of solar for 6 days. Yeah, today's our 6th day of being on solar. Now, I have had to turn the power on Saturday and Sunday because we had very cloudy days and I wanted to top off the battery. That would be no difference than if I had to turn on a generator in the desert. I also made a little mistake yesterday when I went to go turn the fridge back to propane. I actually went past propane and went back to AC. By 4:30 yesterday afternoon, I'm going, why aren't we finished topped off on our charging? And then I looked. I had accidentally put it back on AC. So I went out and turned on the shore power for, I think it was 2 hours to top off the batteries. But we've been on solar ever since. So bottom line is, know how big of a system you need. If you want to include your refrigerator, I think our refrigerator uses 400 watts. 400 watts, I don't even know what the calculation would be for, I'm looking at Marie. I don't even know what the calculation would be for a daily use. Maybe somebody can put it down in the comments. 400 watts, 24 hours a day. That's going to be a lot. And then convert it to amp hours. You know what? Hang on a second. Let me go figure this out. All right, I'm back. I pulled out the old calculator. To keep the fridge going by itself, if it uses 400 watts per hour, that would be 9,600 watts in 24 hours, which is 800 amp hours. Okay? I don't even have battery capacity for that, for that fridge. So I would have to put 800 amp hour more batteries on top of what I already have. So I would need 1,400. Oh, you should see Oma's face. No. 1,400 amp hours of batteries. And if you have lithium, you need, lithium, I would only need 1,400 watts. So I would be close on wattage. But if you have AGMs, you have to double that. That's the way charging goes. If you have lithium batteries, it's 1 watt for every amp hour. If you have AGM batteries or flooded, don't go flooded if you're going to go with solar. But if you have AGM batteries, you need 2 watts for every amp hour, which is what we're set up for right now. 1,320 watts, 594 amp hours. So we're in where we need to be. But 800 amp hours, I would need 8 more batteries. Or 4 more batteries like I have. I don't think that forward bay would hold that much.
How many lithium would you need total?
Lithium? 14.
14 batteries?
14 batteries.
Holy moly.
Yeah. So, believe me, guys, when you're doing your calculations on how big of a solar system you need, do not include your refrigerator, because you're gonna have to get a bigger camper. All right. So anyway, that's the calculations that you need to do. Find out how much you're using, then you can find out how much big of a battery bank you need, and then you can figure out how much solar you're going to need. Okay? In my case, I needed 594 amp hours, 1,300 watts of solar for the number of batteries that I have. Okay, so now let's talk wiring. Don't use the smallest wiring you can find or the first wiring you can find. Don't use battery cables. Battery cables aren't going to be big enough for running like inverters. In my case, the wiring coming off of the solar panels to my distribution box is 10 gauge. From the 10 gauge, I went down, remember, the smaller the number, the bigger the wire. I went to 6 gauge to run it from the roof down to my charge controllers, and from my charge controllers to my battery. So I have more wire. I could actually put another 1300 watts up on the roof, and my wiring would be enough to support the wiring that I've already done. So go big initially. You never know when you might want to upgrade. Inverters. The size of your inverter is going to be based off of how much power you need. Okay? A microwave uses almost 1500 watts just to warm something up. And it's a high consumer of electricity too. Another reason why you're going to need a lot of battery. We have normally a after dark limit of 2 minutes on our microwave. But if we need to make a cup of coffee, that's about, I think 900 watts is what that was. No biggie. We can make a cup of coffee because that's only going to be 2 to 3 minutes on high current while it's heating that water. Oma has, what is that? Instapot. So I tell her as long as it's daylight, she can run it. Otherwise, it's a big consumer. It's about 800 or 900 watts, but it lasts 8, 10, 12, 15 minutes, depending on what she's making. So it's better that if you're going to use the Instapot, you calculate it for daytime use. So while your batteries are being charged, it can send some of the power to the Instapot. Air fryer. Gotta add all these up, guys. What else we got? Okay, so I started to talk about wiring. I used number 6 wiring to the batteries with the solar. For the inverter, I used 4-aught. Okay, 4-aught is like welding cable. Okay, it's very big cable. I went off my middle battery for my draw, for the power I use for inverting. I'm using my other 2 batteries to charge the system, which I just showed you, and they're back feeding to the middle battery. This way I got a good cross flow of electricity. I'm not always charging and drawing off the same battery all the time. So I'm charging the outside 2 and I'm drawing off the center one. And the outside 2 feed the center one. You need an on-off switch for your inverter. You never know if you're going to have a situation like we're going to have by turning off the inverter when you're traveling. There's nothing inside your RV that needs to run while you're traveling. So turn off your inverter. You need an on-off switch. You need to protect the inverter. Protect your batteries and protect your inverter. You need a fuse big enough to handle the load. Now in my case, it was calculated that we needed a 400 amp T fuse. Now they make these spade fuses or A and L fuses, but normally you don't want to go more than 300 amps on those. So a T fuse is a lot stronger a fuse to use for the system. You saw me put the shunt in. Now the shunt, a lot of people make mistakes. They use a small cable going to the shunt and then big cable going somewhere else. Remember that lead coming from the battery has to be heavy enough to carry the whole load, because even though you're not hooked directly to the battery, that load's going to go through that cable. So whatever cable you're using for your inverter, you need to use it all the way back to the battery. So through the shunt to the battery, and from the battery to the on-off switch, the fuse, and the inverter. So I don't know what else I can say other than wiring size is very important. There's some great videos out there on how to crimp. I did go out and buy a $64 crimping tool to crimp all my connections. I heat shrinked all the connections once I had them crimped, which is very time consuming. Oma, you didn't think I'd ever get the solar done, did you?
No.
because I was taking, she's going, well, what did you get done today? I went, well, I got the cables from here to here made up today. That's it? She didn't realize how much work is involved with that. I made 2 boards, one to mount the inverter, and I started putting all the components on it. And when I got done, one of the components wouldn't even fit on the board anymore because of the cabling, and that would have been the negative distribution block. I had it on the board, but I ended up putting it on the wall instead, on the other side of the inverter. So be expected to do changes, make it nice and pretty, safety first, and
Take your time doing it.
take your time doing it. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I kept doing it. Oh, now that the video's done,
Take your time doing it.
I wonder if, okay. Yep, take your time doing it. So, again, Russ, thank you so much for helping me put those panels.
We are the champions.
Oh my God. She's referring to the Dirty Marbles game for those of you that don't know and what she's talking about. Russ and Marie are partners. Sue and I are partners, although we think they cheated. Okay. All right, guys. I got 3 videos to do before we leave Pennsylvania while we still have good internet. And I'm going to try to get this one out first and then go back and do the other 2. One is from our visit to the New York rally, and the other one is from our visit with our very good friends, Sue and Russ. Okay, guys, have a great day. And we got so much exciting more news. If you're not following us on Facebook, you don't know the exciting news about our travels coming up. Talk to you later.